This is an evidentiary hearing before the Indiana Utility Regulatory Commission in a cause docketed before the Commission as cause number 46125, captioned as Application of Maple Creek Energy LLC for Certificate of Public Convenience and Necessity under Indiana Code Section 8-1-2-87.5, authorizing it to construct and operate a natural gas intrastate pipeline to render natural gas transportation services in Sullivan County. Notice of the time and place of the hearing was given as provided by law by publication in Marion County in the Indianapolis Star on October 24th, 2024, and in Sullivan County in the Daily Times on October 25th, 2024. These are newspapers of general circulation, and these publications were made at least 10 days prior to the date of the evidentiary hearing. The proofs of publication of the notices have been received by the Commission and are now incorporated into the record of this cause by reference and placed in the official files of the Commission. Notice has also been given to the Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor and other interested parties. May we have appearances, please?
Thank you, Your Honor. On behalf of applicant Maple Creek Energy LLC, please accept the appearance of Nicholas Kyle, Lauren Aguilar, and Brandford Hines from the law firm of Barnes & Thornburg, LLP.
Thank you.
On behalf of the public, Lorraine Hitz, Victor Peters, Indiana Office of Utility Consumer Counselor, Indianapolis, Indiana.
Thank you. Will all those who know themselves to be witnesses in this cause please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in? Do you swear or affirm the evidence you will give in this cause will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Ms. Aguilar, if you would like to proceed.
Yes, I think at this time it makes sense to call our witness, and then after Ms. Hitz has conducted cross-examination, we'll move evidence into the record, if that makes sense to you.
Yes, that works. Ms. Hitz, does that work?
That's fine, Your Honor.
Okay. At this time, applicant would like to call Nick Zaborowski to the stand. Good morning, Mr. Zaborowski. I just have a few quick questions, and then Ms. Hitz will have some questions for you as well. But I would just like for you to take a moment to familiarize yourself with the documents that have been placed on the desk in front of you. You should have what's been marked as applicant's exhibit number 1, which is the verified application of Maple Creek. Applicant's exhibit number 2, your direct testimony. Exhibit number 3, your rebuttal testimony. Exhibit number 3C, which is the confidential version of your rebuttal testimony. And exhibit number 4, which is the response to the Commission's docket entry. Are all those on the desk in front of you?
Yes, they are.
Okay. And could you please state your name and spell it for the court reporter, please?
Sure. My name is Nick Zaborowski. That is Zaborowsky.
And who are you here representing today?
I'm here representing Maple Creek Energy LLC as the vice president.
And we just reviewed the documents that have been placed in front of you, especially as it pertains to your testimony. If I were to ask you the same questions, would your answers be the same today?
Yes, they would.
At this time, Mr. Zaborowski is available for cross-examination.
Thank you. Mr. Zaborowski, welcome. I have a few questions about this case. If I'm speaking too quickly or you don't understand my question, please tell me and we'll try again. Now, you are the vice president. What are your duties for Maple Creek?
So while the vice president of Maple Creek LLC, I am also working in the capacity of project manager for the Maple Creek Energy project, so overseeing all development work streams for the project. Way closer. Okay. Should I repeat? Should I repeat the answer? In addition to being the vice president of Maple Creek LLC, I work in the capacity of project manager for the Maple Creek Energy Project, overseeing all development work streams.
And does that include the actual combustion turbine for which Maple Creek received approval under cause number 45840?
I'm sorry, I'm not sure I understand the question.
Did Maple Creek come to the commission previously to get approval to build a gas turbine?
Yes, that's correct.
Do your duties involve managing the project to build that gas turbine?
That is correct.
Thank you. And this project is to request approval for a pipeline to serve that gas turbine, correct?
That is correct.
All right. Were you involved in the case requesting approval for the gas turbine?
Yes, I was involved in the case and present at the hearing for that case.
Thank you. Were you responsible for combining or creating testimony and exhibits for that case?
I supported the drafting of the testimony in those filings.
When you say supported drafting, does that mean you did not actually draft the material yourself?
Yes, I believe Kelly Huffman gave the initial testimony, which was later replaced by Nicole Makla. I might have that reversed here.
That's fine, thank you. When a utility comes before the commission and asks for a particular relief, whether it's to build a pipeline or build a combustion turbine, is it the utility's responsibility or another party to provide the commission with the necessary information to support that?
My understanding is that is the utility's responsibility.
And one of the things that came up during this case, questions that the OUCC asked Maple Creek, had to do with how the pipeline would be funded. Are you familiar with that?
I'm familiar with that.
And Maple Creek responded that it would fund the project through a capital raise. Are you familiar with that response as well?
I am familiar with that response.
Without revealing confidential numbers, would you agree that the amount of money that was on Maple Creek's books for this case, as shown by responses, was, I'm trying to see how I can ask this question without revealing confidential information, was 1/10 or less of the total cost of the proposed project?
Yes, I would agree.
And the OUCC thereafter asked additional questions about how Maple Creek was going to support the financing of the project. Is that right? Are you familiar with that?
I am familiar.
And one of the responses that Maple Creek gave, and were you responsible for answering the questions that the OUCC asked?
Yes, I was.
Okay. One of the questions the OUCC asked was where the support, the financial support documents were. Do you recall that question? To support this project in this case.
I recall the OUCC asking for financial statements from Maple Creek Energy LLC. Is that what you're referring to?
Well, that's part of it, thank you. And did Maple Creek, in response to questions from the OUCC, state more or less that it had already received a certificate of public convenience and necessity for the gas turbine, and therefore it was relying on that approval for the support for this project?
I stated that in the cause for the declination of jurisdiction for the overall electric generating facility, that we received that notice from the IURC and used that as supporting evidence for our ability to finance the pipeline, which is part of the overall project.
Was the information that you provided to this commission for the declination case, 45840, was that included in the evidence for this case, 46125?
No, it was not.
Now, one of the things that happened when the OUCC filed its testimony, and I assume you are familiar with the OUCC's testimony by
Yes, I
Mr.
am.
Hoff, and that the OUCC at that time recommended that the commission deny Maple Creek's relief because it had not submitted sufficient financial support. Do you recall that?
I do recall that testimony.
And did Maple Creek submit additional information to the OUCC after the OUCC had filed testimony?
Our goal with this process was to be as cooperative as possible in the information sharing part of this. So yes, we did submit a supplemental response.
Thank you. When you filed your rebuttal testimony on January 22nd, did your testimony include criticism of the OUCC for failing to take into account the financial information which had been produced after the OUCC filed its testimony?
Our intention was to clarify the points we attempted to make in our testimony and our data request, and not to criticize the OUCC, but correct and clarify.
Did you state in your testimony that the additional material you provided to the OUCC was given to the agency after the OUCC filed its testimony?
No, I don't believe we did.
Was it the position of Maple Creek that the OUCC had an obligation to provide the supplemental information to the commission rather than have Maple Creek do it?
The purpose of the supplemental response was to hope to clarify and provide more detail about our financial ability. That, to answer your question, that wasn't the position of Maple Creek.
But Maple Creek took the OUCC to task for not providing the information to the commission, did it not, in your rebuttal testimony?
Again, I would say Maple Creek attempted to explain and clarify the points that the OUCC made in their testimony.
How did Maple Creek clarify the OUCC's testimony?
By attempting to address points about Maple Creek Energy that they believe to be incorrect, as well as address potential inferences regarding the testimony.
Well, one of those inferences, and we'll use that word for the moment, was that Maple Creek didn't have the financial ability to do the project, correct?
That is correct.
And that was based in part on, as we've established, the amount of money that Maple Creek showed relative to the projected cost of the project, right?
Correct.
Is it your belief that the OUCC is responsible for providing evidence to support a utilities request?
No.
You also took issue with the questions that the OUCC posed or testimony provided about the capital raise. Do you recall that?
Would you mind letting me know where in the rebuttal testimony you're referencing?
On page NZ7, lines 6 to 9, you stated that that further information regarding the capital raise process was unnecessary.
I'm looking at the revised rebuttal, so it might not be matching up.
Well, why don't I recall that question and ask another? In response to data request, OUCC DR 4-8, may I approach, Your Honor?
Yes. Yes, we will go off the record. We will go back on the record. Ms. Hitz, if you'd like to proceed.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Zaborowski, do you have what's been marked for identification as the OUCC's cross-exhibit number 1?
Yes, I do.
All right. And is that a response by Maple Creek to the OUCC's 4th data request?
That is correct.
Turning to response for 4-8, which is page 11. And this question and answer have to do with the capital raise that we talked about. And in your response, you say that a capital raise is a very common industry practice. Do you see that there?
I see that.
And you make reference to the approval, the declination case, where Advanced Power's experience and financial ability were relied upon by the commission to grant the relief that Maple Creek sought. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And then the response says, Maple Creek Energy did not believe further information regarding the capital raise process was necessary. That statement there, does that mean that Maple Creek did not believe it had to submit that information in this case as well?
That statement was referring to this case and Maple Creek's initial response to data request 3-1. Our response to question C there, and it was intended to explain that we thought our response there was a sufficient explanation, and after receiving the OUCC's testimony, we decided that more information was needed to be provided about the capital raise process.
And it's at that time that Maple Creek provided the OUCC with a supplemental response showing financial details. Is that correct?
That is correct.
After the OUCC had filed its testimony.
That is correct.
May I have a moment, Your Honor?
Yes, we will go off record. You'll go back on record.
Your Honor, at this time, I would offer what has been marked for identification as OUCC cross-exhibit number 1.
Any objections?
Applicant has no objection.
We will admit OUCC's cross-exhibit 1 into evidence.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Zaborowski.
Thank you.
Applicant does not have any redirect questions. Does it make sense now to go ahead and put in our evidence?
Yes, please.
Perfect. At this time, applicant would move to admit what has been pre-marked as Exhibit Number 1, the verified application of Maple Creek Energy, LLC. Applicant's Exhibit Number 2, the direct testimony of Nick Zaborowski. Applicant with attachment. Applicant Exhibit Number 3, which is the rebuttal testimony of Mr. Zaborowski, including attachments. This also includes revisions to pages 6 and 9, which were pre-filed on Friday, December 13th. Applicant's exhibit number 3C, which is the confidential version of Mr. Zaborowski's rebuttal testimony, and then applicant's exhibit number 4, which is Maple Creek Energy LLC's response to the commission's docket entry dated December 11th, 2024.
Thank you. Any objections?
No objection.
We will admit into evidence Petitioner's Exhibit 1, Petitioner's Exhibit 2, Petitioner's Exhibit 3, Petitioner's Exhibit 3C, and Petitioner's Exhibit 4.
Applicant has nothing further.
Thank you. Ms. Hitz?
Thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we'd offer what's previously been marked for identification as the following. Public's Exhibit number 1, the testimony of Jared Hoff, and Exhibit 1C, the confidential version of Mr. Hoff's testimony.
Thank you. Any objections?
Applicant has no objection, and we waive cross-examination.
Thank you. We will admit into evidence Public's Exhibit 1 and Public's Exhibit 1C.
Public rests.
Thank you. Is there anything further from either party?
Nothing further, but if you would like, I'm happy to read into the record our post-hearing briefing schedule.
That'd be perfect. Thank you.
Sure. Applicant and the OUCC conferred. Applicant will file its proposed order on December 23rd, 2024. The OUCC will file its exceptions on January 15th, 2025, and applicant will file its reply on January 22nd, 2025, and we were hoping for an order from the commission in the first quarter of 2025.
Perfect. Is there anything further from either party?
Nothing from the OUCC.
Thank you. We are adjourned.
Thank you, Your Honor.